Episode 14 is ex-Elgin City captain Russell Mackay. Russell was captain of Elgin City during their 1992-1993 season, which is actually debated and was stripped off them in the end. Russell speaks to us about scoring over 100 goals for Elgin City, some of the players he played against and with. And there's actually a few mentions of some former guests of this podcast on Russell's episode. I hope you enjoy the episode. Okay, we're good to go. Episode 14 is ex-Elgin City captain Russell Mackay. Thank you very much for coming on, mate.
Welcome. Thanks for the invite. Good.
I got in touch with you a few weeks ago. We've had a few people have you in their 11. I've asking a few people about you the last couple of weeks. One of the people asked about you was Robbie Hope. He says, I played with him in Murray Social, and he says, this is kind of player, he says, you could probably still play now if you wanted. He says, it was nothing glitz or glamour, just never done anything wrong. He says, you passed the ball went where the ball went, and you tackled, you got the ball. And he says, everything was solid. Craig said the same. Craig described you as modern day Soapy Cameron with a bit of flair. So I don't know how you'll take that.
Well, I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah.
We've got actually a run of Elgin City guests coming up, and I thought the best way to kick it off with is ex-captain Russell. Russell, I always start off with my first question, which is always the same, is how good a football player were you as a kid, and kind of what age did you realise you had a bit of potential?
I don't really know how I recognised I was going to be a player, but because being brought up in Lesmurdy, you're playing with everybody. You know, there's a group of maybe 20, 30 guys all playing together, and you're got 15, 16 aside. You know, and then so I was really just brought up from playing with a lot of friends and people like that. You know, but I went to East End, and in primary 3 I was asked to play for the primary 7s, which was the team, you know. So it's really from then that I sort of kicked in and had a bit of talent that way, you could say. So that's really the sort of youngest thing I can think of that, in the footballing terms, that I'd thought about having a bit of talent there, you know. Mm-hmm. That's all.
Was it the same? I don't know about you when you were growing up, but when I was growing up, the Murdy boys were small, tough, hard little players. I don't think there was one of them who were 5 foot, but they were brilliant little players. There were wee Jimmy Johnsons. Was it the same when you were growing up?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Everybody just like get stuck in.
Aye,
nobody's wanting to go in goals. Just want to be out players.
Yeah.
Everybody just gets stuck in, and up at the Dean's Hawk Park, with a big field we used to call it. Again, taking on the Bishy boys and that, you know, not for any other reason than fighting than the football, but it was good times back then.
Yeah, there was a lot of football used to get played at that Dean's Hall as well. There was a lot of welfare football and things like that, and I think it's actually a place that goes to waste these days.
It is now, yeah.
It's not used at all. Elgin Boys Club, things like that.
Yeah, Elgin Boys Club. I managed to get in a year early. I managed to duke my age, so
okay.
I was in the C League there at 9 years old, and one of the most talented players I've seen, Robbie Monroe. I don't know if you know.
No, I don't.
Robbie Monroe and Alec Gordon were the managers, ex-Highland League players.
Yeah.
And it was actually maybe roll on another maybe 4 or 5 years. I played against Robbie when I was playing for Burkhead Thistle, and he was playing for New Elgin.
Okay.
And I just stood in awe of him, you know, his touch and his vision, and he was getting on a bit in his days, right enough, and he was getting a bit narky, and he would get sent off more times than he would have liked, I'm sure. But what a talent he had for a Highland League player, and then dropping back to the juniors, you know.
Yeah, someone I'm sure you to look up to when you were playing. Would you have been intimidated by someone like that, playing against him at that age?
Not intimidated, but certainly you stand back and think, oh, that was a great touch, you know, when you should be writing about him, you know.
Yeah.
But no, Robbie was for a local guy, was some player, played for Keith, and I'm sure there's a few more, Lossy, and then came back to junior league, you know.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. I'm actually going to fast forward one of my questions, rewind about one of my questions that I've got later on, but this is kind of relating to you growing up. Did you have a football idol growing up? Like somebody you looked up to on the telly or watched? And
there was a lack of TV back in them days, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You were very privileged to be able to watch football on TV. But there was like the Cruyff, Johan Cruyff,
yeah,
obviously Pele. I remember the mid 70s, like Billy Bremner, Peter Lorimer, and those sort of guys. But it was really the guys that I sort of looked up to was the midfield players like Glenn Hoddle and Michel Platini.
yes, brilliant players.
I loved the way they played. You know, they made it look
Yeah.
so simple. So that was sort of the midfield players, and then the forwards were obviously Cruyff, if you want to put him in forward, or Dalglish. I like Joe Jordan.
Yeah,
You know, these hustle and bustle kind of players as well. But growing up, it was certainly the Platinis and the Hoddles of the football time then.
were you, considering you scored so many goals in your career, Russell, you're always a midfielder, or did you play up front?
No, I was up front.
Yeah,
Early days I was up front. Even starting with Elgin, I was put on the right wing as well.
okay.
I never had the pace for a right wing. Actually replaced Freezy in the right wing,
Yeah.
which I keep reminding him of. But I was never speedy enough for a winger, so I like to come drop back into midfield, and then I was more of a box to box player,
Yeah,
getting up to support, and then obviously getting a few goals as well.
okay. We kind of spoke a little bit before you came on. You played junior football very early age.
Yeah, I was probably about 14, 15 as I started playing. First of all, it was for Bishop Mill because we were, me and Gary Wood, young Woody was invited down to Elgin at probably 13, training nights, etc.
Okay.
More to make up the numbers than anything else because it was an Aberdeen-based team at the time.
Yeah,
There was only like Chico McCarty, Frazee, Roy Dunbar, Stevie Anderson,
okay.
local, and Neef McLennan, local. But some of them used to work at Ardisia, so night shift and etc. There were only maybe 2 or 3 of them
Actually,
on a training night, you know.
Yeah,
I've lost the pace here.
no, we were just saying about junior football.
Oh yeah. And because I was down there, Bishop Mill were the team at the time,
Yeah.
playing out of there. So come Saturdays, again, me and Woody was invited down to play for Bishop Mill,
Yes.
which is sort of the natural progression from Bishop Mill onto Elgin Citys. So the
I think it's something that's missing these days.
Yeah,
The Bishop Mill
yeah.
team. You look back at the records, Elgin Fitban, Bishop Mill always gets a mention.
yeah.
Bishop Mill Villa, there's always been Fitba, some sort of Bishop Mill. There's 2 big Fitba producing schools in Bishop Mill. A lot of good Fitba players have came from Bishop Mill Primary or Seafield Primary, and I just didn't understand why they've not got a junior team anymore.
That's right, yeah.
It's a shame. Possibly to do with them not being able to use Barra Briggs anymore, and obviously there wasn't much of a pitch down at the Dean, so if it was only usable 3 months of the year.
The cost of the maintenance,
It's not great. And then when they built that big car park down there, I thought, you maybe get a wee bit of a revival of a team, but never been much. Barkhead, you moved on to?
Yeah, it was Barkhead. Harry Owens was the manager at the time, who was also a boys' league coach.
Yeah.
So he asked me down there. My brother was there as well, and a few other guys I knew. So that was an easy choice. And I played there for a season or so, and then went with the boys' club. We went to America,
Right.
which was I think that was the June of '84.
Okay.
And then when we came back from there, I was asked to go down to Nottingham Forest
Oh, yeah.
when Brian Clough was the manager. I spent a month down there, and then came back, and then things didn't work out there. And then I was sort of a loose end. I was needing to play football.
Yeah.
So I'd phoned up Colin Keir, who was the manager at Barkhead after Harry. And he says, "Yeah, come down. We'll sort you out." You know. So that was the juniors that I'd played there.
Yeah.
Was, first of all, Bishop Mill, and then for a season, then Birkhead for a season and a bit, and then a few months after that.
Excellent. So that kind of brings in my first time for one of the questions from, I said to you before, people that possibly know you. One of the questions I got was, sorry, I should have had this prepared.
Next time, mate, do you want to just like forward them to me and I could read them off instead of you having to get the phone involved in that?
Is from someone called Kevin Sweeney.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, do you remember our train trips to the Scotland under-15 schoolboys trials?
Vaguely. Going back, I don't know if you think this yourself, you're same yourself, but the school football always seemed to be dreich, wet, cold days, you know.
Yeah.
You never get a sunny, warm day to play school football. And it seemed to be the same with these schoolboy trials, because you were lumped onto the train to maybe from, well, Kevin was Inverness, so I would join it at Elgin, through to Aberdeen, and we either got a lift from there down south, or we trained it again, down to maybe Perth or Dundee, played the game, wherever it was. But also in that teams was a lot of S-form signings, you know.
Yes,
we didn't know who was there or who was from where, but once you seen the team lines, and I had the goalkeeper, blah blah blah, whoever it was, signed by Aberdeen, S schoolboy forms Aberdeen, right back Dundee, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Kevin, I think, were only two guys that weren't signed S forms.
Wow, yeah.
So it was quite an eye opener to the sort of divide that's there.
Yeah. Did you fit in these games?
I wouldn't say I was out of place.
Mm-hmm.
You're certainly looking at teams that guys that are playing with Celtic Rangers, Dundee United, etc. And you think, I'm not any worse, I'm not any better, you know.
Yeah.
But there's obviously something there, you know.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic insight into it, mate. How did the move to Elgin come about?
Well, it was actually when I was away at Nottingham Forest. Charlie McCarty, who was the chairman at the time at Elgin, I learned afterwards that he'd visited my parents' house.
Okay.
I don't know what the conversation was, but it was basically along the lines of, if your son comes back, we want to sign him.
Right.
Now, I don't know what my old man said to him, but it would have been along the lines of, get out the door, you know. he's been down at Barra Briggs for a couple of seasons, and you've had no notice of him. So why do you want him all of a sudden? The big teams are sniffing about, you know. So when I was back at Birkhead, Elgin, because of their lack of players, or local players, they used to have their training nights was play local junior teams and take in junior players from elsewhere to give them trials, etc.
Yeah.
So I think it was one Tuesday they played Birkhead Thistle, which I played against Elgin. And the week after that, they asked me to play against whoever it was, another junior team. And then a week later, they asked to sign me from Birkhead. It was Ian Cummins was the manager.
Right, yeah.
Who was from Aberdeen. So I was 16 at the time. Wasn't a problem to me. But I was amateur for him with Birkhead, and then Colin Keir had said to me, we're going to get nothing out of this deal, so do you want to sign professional forms for us, and we'll get a bit of money for you? I said, well, no, really. So we came to an agreement that Elgin gave Birkhead Thistle £350,
okay,
plus a couple of match balls for the signature. So
that's a good deal, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I take it that's only a transfer fee you ever went for in your career, Russell?
It is, yeah. It is. That was it.
That's madness. Okay. You go to Elgin, what age?
16.
16. How long did it take you to become captain?
I was 21 when I became captain.
Okay. How many games do you think you'd played by that point?
The first few seasons was I was in and out of the team, you know. Actually, Ian Cummins got the sack 2 weeks later.
Yeah, a good start.
No, wasn't it? because I don't know the reasons why, but I think whether it was mainly Aberdeen based or whatever, I don't know. But then Malcolm Cowie came in.
Okay, yeah.
And he, with the money restraints, etc., he started getting rid of the Aberdeen players, taking in the local players like Michael Teasdale, MacArthur. Neef was already there. Well, in fact, 2 seasons later, Neef and myself as the longest serving players. Me at 3 years and Neef at 5 years.
Okay.
So then when Malcolm came in and took in the sort of not an all local team, because there were a few from Inverness. He was putting a good team together. Then he decided to go to New Zealand. Right. And then Pelly came in about as player manager. Again, took in John McGinley for one. Mm-hmm. Who was other than Billy Ferris for a season. Yep. 2 great signings, and that was the sort of his catalyst of his players that he took in that really put together the treble.
Was that did you kind of have under Malcolm, you had kind of the pieces, but you were just missing a couple of pieces?
That's right, yeah.
And Pelly's taking them in and seeing what you needed, and he's built that team to what it became. That's
right, yeah. You'd
because your Elgin early 90s is considered one of the top 2 Elgin teams ever, along with the late 60s team with Willie Grant and Georgie Gilbert and things like that in it. So this is no weak Elgin team. I'm not saying weak Elgin team that you've seen for the last 20 years, but the Elgin that we are used to for the last 20 years, who have, no offence to Elgin, but they've been the punching bags of League 2 for a couple of seasons. Yeah. We've only had 3 or 4 good seasons in that league in the last 20.
Yeah.
But a very strong Elgin team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pelly had played me sort of right midfield, right wing. And then there was a couple of games during the pre-season that, again, he was taking me off, as a substitute, taking me off. And I'd go to him, am I the only player you can think of taking off, Yeah. I'm just trying to change things and blah, blah. I says, well, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks running. And the next week, we were playing Ross County. Obviously, Gordon Connolly was in midfield. And Pelly just took me aside and says, I'm putting you in centre midfield and I'm going to make you captain. So I went, okay. And my chest went out 2 inches taller, Mm-hmm. And it was really from there that it kicked on me sort of the permanent midfield role,
Yeah. Was you a captain in youth teams and things like that, or previous teams?
No, really. It was always sort of MacArthur who was the sort of school football captain.
Yep.
Junior teams, I wasn't a captain, no. So no, not really, no.
And was it something like I take an adults team. I'm an assistant manager in an adults team, and I'm big on my captain being he should be the guy in the dressing room. We shouldn't have to do anything it's not the dressing room these days, it's a group chat these days, but he should be the guy putting the things into the group chat. It shouldn't be up to management. And did you kind of have that? Was there anyone, what I'm trying to ask is, was there anyone for you to learn that from at such a young age, or were you having to find it the hard way, for example?
I think coming in as early as I did to Elgin, there was a lot of good players there, a lot of tremendous leaders.
Yeah.
And you sort of take on a few bits and bobs from them. Mm-hmm. I mean, the way certain people talk to certain people, and you got mollycoddle that one, or you kind of shout at him, you got to be quiet in his word in his ear, But I wasn't a shouter on the park, as in a baller. I would, if somebody did something wrong, I would just walk by them and go, "Come on, hey, you need to do better.
Yes,
we need to win this. We need to do better,
Yeah.
Rather than just slating them in front of everybody. That's not the way to do it. So I wasn't a shouter. I wasn't a baller, but unless you were a referee, right enough. Teammates, I just used to walk by them and say, "Let me quiet word in their ear." That was my way.
Held your standards high.
You always try to,
Yeah.
You've got to.
Would you be the kind of player if, for example, somebody wasn't pulling their weight, they were turning up late to train and that, would you be the kind of captain that was on to the player themselves?
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely. There was an instance. The guys come through from Inverness in the one car, like Ali Jaffe and Grasser, Davy Cran, etc.
Yeah.
And they come through in the one car just as we were coming out the door to go round the back of Briggs. And it was quite a sleety, rainy night. And I sort of went, yeah, time, what's happening here? Training starts at 7:15. And some of them shouted, oh, you should try come through Inverness for training. And I just pointed to the wall. I said, what does that say up there? The Elgin City Football Club. I says, well, that's who you've signed for. That's who you're going to train through. Mm-hmm. So
I like that.
So
it's quality, mate. I like that. It's I could learn a lot for that with my players. My players just didn't have bloody listen to me. They hate my guts. So during your... So can you just point me from the first season you played for Elgin to the last season, Russell?
What was that? 84. It was a hard sort of level to be in, coming from juniors, which was, although it was a high standard of junior football, coming in to Highland League, you're getting a lot of time on the ball.
Yeah.
But then you've got to pick your passes and make it a bit of quality, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it wasn't long after Malcolm Cowie had come in as manager. We were through at Fraserburgh, and he said to me, I'm going to start you in centre midfield. And he says, by the way, you're going to be up against Charlie Duncan.
Yeah.
And quite seriously, new to Highland League centre, I says, who the hell's Charlie Duncan? And all the players sort of burst out laughing. And I'm going, what's wrong? So, unbeknown to me, one of the players must have said to Charlie Duncan in the warm-up, what I've said, you know. Well, 2 minutes into the game, ball breaks, Charlie Duncan gets it, tries to nutmeg me, and it ricochets off my leg. We both go for it, I get there first. Next thing you know, I've got 6 studs down the back of my calf, you know. And he picks me up by the scruff of the neck. He says, I'm Charlie Duncan, by the way. So that was quite an introduction to him, and what a player he was.
Yeah.
I found since found out, and a great manager as well. What a team he put together there.
Considered one of the greatest Highland League players of all time, isn't he?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And then coming right through my last game, my fitness sort of dropped because of my knee injuries.
Yeah.
I think it was 97, season 96, 97 season.
Okay.
Was the last season. And basically the surgeon who had done my knee, my last operation, I went back to him again because it kept sort of popping out.
Yeah.
And he says, if you keep going the way you're doing, you're going to need a new knee by the time you're 40.
Wow.
And that sort of put the nail in the coffin, you know. So that's when I turned to coaching, etc., and went through some badges.
Brilliant, yeah. Do you have so this is something I couldn't get on you, Russell. I've managed to get on everyone else. Do you have a number of appearances that you played for Elgin City? Do you know the number?
Including subs?
Yeah.
I would say about 382.
382, okay. Because I got a couple of different answers. It was all about that. A couple of people had said just over 400. I think somebody said 350. So I knew it was ballpark kind of area. Okay. So
I thought you were going to give me the answer.
No. Unfortunately not. So going through that entire 13 years you've given me, who's the best player you played with?
Well, there've been a few. I would have to say John McGinley would be the standout.
Yeah.
For a brief, was it half a season, 3/4 a season?
Yep.
Just his pace, his quality of finishing.
13 games for Scotland, 4 goals.
Yeah.
Did you know, and I only found this out looking up at your research for this podcast, Russell, did you know he played in the same Fort William team as Duncan Shearer?
Yeah, I knew that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's an unbelievable front line for a Highland League team.
Just
what was it made him so good? power?
Just his pace.
Yeah.
Just getting it away from defenders and knowing where the ball was going to end up, you know. He wasn't big, but he could jump, and he had a few headed goals in his day as well as for Elgin.
Yeah. I've listened to a few podcasts as well. He seems like quite a funny guy. A few stories and things like that, and speaks quite fondly of his time in the Highland League, and reckons that his time in the Highland League made him the player that he became because of having to, I think it was 14 or 15, he broke into the Highland League himself, and he says when you're having to battle against veteran centre-backs when you're 14, 15, it makes a player of you.
I think it was at Nairn, was it with Pelly, I think. It was where he was, I think.
There was quite a few Highland League clubs on his, because I think there's Fort William, Nairn and Clach as well, and then he gets to Elgin, and then obviously the big move to Bolton and things like that comes afterwards. There's going through your 11, we're going to go through it just shortly, but there's quite a lot of your 11 played professionally. I didn't realise that until I'd done the research. The next one I'm interested in though is, who's the best player you played against during your career? Is there anyone that you played? I'm going to two-part the question. Best player you played against, but is there anyone you played regularly that you just used to give you an absolute torrid time?
Personally, we certain midfield, there was always like Gordon Conley or Craig Yates, Martin Lyle, different type of players, you know. Charlie Christie as well. But you knew with sort of Martin Lyle, it's going to be 90 minutes of just graft all the time. Up and down that box, up and down. Gordon Conley was a different type of player. He always used to go and get short from everybody, so you're having to shadow him and close him down there. It wasn't really a box-to-box player, but he just used to try and link up with his teammates. Again, Craig Yates, a different type of player.
Yes.
I would say Martin Lyle was probably the most difficult to try and match, you know, over the 90 minutes.
You played against quite a few Scottish Cup teams as well. You would have came up against quite a few pros or ex-pros that are maybe at the end of their career as well. Was anyone kind of sticks out in mind that you came up?
Well, I played against Davy Cooper 3 times.
Wow, and, big name.
It was it was a testimonial match for Chico, I think. And then when he moved on to Motherwell, he came up twice then. But obviously he was in his 30s then. But what a talent! His close control, and you know, he could just move his eyes and you're away. You know.
Yep.
I would say Davy Cooper would probably be up there. Jim Bett as well when he was at Aberdeen.
Okay, yeah,
played against him, and again try to close him down. His touch was there, and again he just shifted his body, and you're with it, and he's away. You know.
Yeah, little drop of the shoulder
and
things.
Just tremendous. Yeah.
And you notice that with these, I've been coaching a little while now, and I'm starting to get to know how the difference between a good player and a bad player. For example, you see it yourself when you're in football. You think you go to watch a game, you think that's a player, and it's the little things I've noticed now. It's the little drops of shoulders. It's not, they're not doing nothing fancy. They're not doing anything ridiculous that nobody else can do. But it's a subtle little movements that they've got down to a T that makes a player. I feel. And as you're saying, it's just 1 minute you think you got the ball and you're closing space, and the next minute he's away, and you know.
Yeah. Going back to the boys' club, when the boys' club select with old John Cameron, when he used to do it, you know, you used to have to go and sit in the old Morriston changing rooms for an hour and a half before you get out in the football field, and he would preach about positions, etc. As a young 13, 14 years old, you're not really interested in this type of thing, you know. But then once you get into you're older and you're playing days and you're coaching, then you go, that's why he's saying to do this. You know, so I've said before, and I think a lot of young players should go through their coaching badges a lot earlier on what they're doing. That they would give them a better understanding.
Oh, absolutely.
Of not necessarily tactical sort of situations, but what's trying to get across to them, you know.
Yeah, you see the game differently.
Mm-hmm.
You see the game differently. Can I just get a time check, Ryan?
Sorry, I had a mouthful of water there. 31 minutes, mate.
That's perfect. No, you see the game differently. I'm going to point them out, and I know he's listening, so it's fine. JP, I took him off in the last game. One of my players took him off in the last game because we'd put him in as a defensive midfielder, and he kept seeing space in front of him and kept drifting into space, and boys were just putting the ball over the top of him and kept conceding that way. And I hauled him off, and he says, "What did you haul me off for?" He says, "I was going into space." I says, "I'm asking you to do something. I'll ask you to play a position." He says, "But I'm doing what I see is best." I says, "But you see the game different to me. You're a player. I'm a coach." He says, "I used to be in your position. When I played, I would have probably done the same thing as you. But as a coach, I think totally different." And it's right. You see the game massively differently. I heard Sam Allardyce recently. There was a reason he used to sit in the stand. He says, "You can't see nothing from the touchline. Sit in the stand if you're watching a game. You've seen everything." Get a wee radio, and I don't know how successful that is. Not very, going by Sam Allardyce's career, but yeah, you see it differently. 100% agree with that. Okay, we're going to go into memorabilia, Russell. Where did you get your memorabilia from?
This was presented by Bob Weir.
Yeah,
through the directors at Elgin.
I'll put a picture up for people for this afterwards.
It's just this is actually when I reached 100 goals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's every game and the score. If it's a win, lose or draw. Penalties are in there, and a few facts as well.
Yeah. Did you were you a free kick taker as well, Russell?
Not in front of goal, but certainly out wide, etc. Yes, but not for potential goal scoring free kicks. You could say.
It's so I'm just going to kind of pull this over a second, though, friend. Quite a select list: Jerry Graham, Willie Grant, Matt Armstrong, John Logie, Frazee Kellis, Sandy McLennan, Harry Bremner, Sandy Rothney, Roddy Klein, and Russell Mackay. And you were saying just before you came on that I don't think there's been anyone scored 100 since.
I think there has been, certainly Craig Gunn.
Craig Gunn, sorry, yeah. Possibly Polworth, Ian Polworth.
I think Polworth could be there.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to think of anyone else.
As I say, I don't think Shane or Kane got there. Soapy Jr. would be approaching 100.
Maybe close yet.
86, I think he's on. But he's just scored his first 2 in the last 2 years, I think it is. So he's been on a little bit of a drought. So going by your memorabilia, over 100 goals for Elgin. What's your favourite or what's your best? Two kind of two-part question. What's your favourite and what's your best?
Hard to say what was the best, but I would say the most memorable would have been the penalty against Arbroath in the Scottish Cup. We won 2-1, so a last-minute penalty.
Big crowd that day.
It was, yeah. I wasn't long had been made captain, and it was Chico that was taking the penalties before that, and for some reason Chico wasn't playing, maybe suspended. And then when the penalty came up, the first thing I thought was, well, as captain, I'm going to take it, and if I miss it, I'm going to get the flag.
Yeah.
Not as if to get the plaudits to score it, you know. So really from then is when the sort of penalty sort of kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
The best one, probably the first one.
Yeah. Okay. Talk us through it, Russell. How soon in your Elgin career? What have we got here? 8th of December 1984.
Yeah, so that was a couple of months into it.
Yeah.
And I think it was against Nairn County, was it? Yeah, a 3-3 draw, and I think it was the third goal to get the draw.
Wow. Yeah.
Probably about 5 minutes to go, I think. I think it was just a cross come in from the right hand side, and I just remember sliding in and trying and getting a toe in it, you know, and it went to earn the draw.
Yep. Did you have any kind of trademark kind of goal? Is there anything that you would do apart from like a penalty? Any kind of goal that you would score more often than not? You'd pick up for a certain point in midfield, or
Yeah, it was just really just picking the ball up in midfield and running straight towards that penalty box and getting a wee 1-2 off a striker and then slotting away. That's probably the basic one. I had a couple of 25-yarders.
Brilliant.
Bottom corners, etc.
They halfway line goals like Nefi.
No. No. He lives off of that one, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. So it says here you net as your 100th goal in your 337th starting appearance. It's 1 in 3, mate.
Yeah,
that's really good record. Really good record. I was trying to think up a wee quiz for you and Ryan, but I was going to do, can you name the 10 highest scoring midfielders of the 21st century? But they started throwing in players like Ronaldinho and that, and Ronaldinho's not a midfielder in my opinion, he's a winger. So can you name, I'm not even going to go Scotland, can you name the 4 midfielders in the English Premier League that have scored more than 100 goals? Just since 1992.
Well, I've got one off the bat.
Yeah.
Gareth Barry?
No, he's not.
Really?
Just in the league, sorry.
Oh, just in the league.
Just in the league.
Gareth Bale.
No. I think he would have been close if he hadn't moved.
So it could be a winger, for example, just a midfielder.
Well, there's one that you would class as a winger, but he played centre midfield for at least 5 years of his
Ryan
career.
Giggs.
There you go, there's one. Okay, and the other 3 are out and out central midfielders.
Right, okay. Yaya Toure, maybe?
Nope.
They're
all English.
all English. Oh, Lampard, obviously. Steven Gerrard and Paul Scholes.
There we go. Got all 4.
Scholes?
Scholes, yeah, more than 100 league goals. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not even going to do the other ones because it was giving me players like Ronaldinho and Arjen Robben. And I'm like, they're not midfielders.
Yeah, I mean, Ronaldinho maybe, but like Ian Robbins definitely never played centre midfield.
Okay, right, let's get back to it. Did you ever get an offer to move up the leagues, Russell?
Yeah. I was 22 and Sheffield United came in. That was after our treble winning side. And then Pelly left to go to Huntly, and then Mike Winton stepped up, became manager. And then the scout from Sheffield United had got in touch to say go down for a week's trial when Dave Bassett was manager.
Yeah.
So everything was arranged. Travelled down on the Monday and by train. Got there 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. Went into the ground, nobody about, absolutely nobody about. So eventually got a hold of a receptionist just to say, Russell Mackay from Elgin, down for a week's trial. Oh, nothing here, you know.
Okay.
Well, I'm here now. So eventually a youth team coach came in about, well, you weren't expected till yesterday, till tomorrow. I says, well, I was told to come on a Monday. So no digs sorted out, etc. So I was hanging about. So I eventually got digs sorted out, and then I was told to come back on the Tuesday. We'll have a training session, and then there's a reserve game at night against Sheffield Wednesday. So we went in the Tuesday morning, and Dave Bassett was there. I met him. Quite a few well-known players as well, like Brian Dean was there, and you know, so it was quite a strong team for the Premiership.
First ever Premier League goal, Brian Dean.
Is that right?
Yeah, 1992, first ever Premier League goal.
So the training session was, say, 10 o'clock till 12 o'clock, and the majority of the session was long ball, you know, defence, miss out midfield, aim for the forwards. If the defender gets a knock on it, we'll get a throw in. If no, it'll come back at midfield, and midfield's pushing on, that sort of thing. And that's what he done. Spent the majority of the time long ball.
Wow.
So
how things have changed.
Aye, well. So I was told that I would be involved in the game at night as well. So I'm back to the digs. Picked up way to Hillsborough. reserve game, and you can imagine the two Sheffield teams. There was about 5,000-6,000 of a crowd there.
Wow.
So it was quite a good atmosphere. And there was quite a lot of Sheffield United players who were injured coming back from injury, who were the first team players were playing. So it's quite a strong team as well. But the Sheffield Wednesday were streets ahead of them.
Yeah.
So I gets on it. I think the score was 1-0 at the time. I went on the last 20 minutes, and Bassett says, "I want you to sit in the middle of midfield with whatever his name was. I can't remember. The two will be in there." So I goes on, told the guy, "You have to move over," and he went, "I'm not moving anywhere. You go out there." Aye, okay.
Yeah.
So out I went, and never had much to do. A couple of touches here and there, but
Yeah.
nothing really outstanding, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So then after the game, we got beat 3-0. After the game, I goes in, I says, "What's happening tomorrow?" And the guy said, one of the youth team coach who had picked me up says, "Oh, by the way, we'll pick you up and take you to the train station. You're going home." I thought I was here for a week. No, the manager doesn't fancy it. Aye, okay, fair enough.
Wow.
So that was my experience of Sheffield United, which wasn't too good.
Was there anything Scottish ever offered to you higher up?
Going back a few years, when Alan Main went down to Dundee United, I went down with him.
Wow.
On the Saturday we played the Celtic reserves at Tannadice. We both played, and I got quite a nasty bruise on my shin in a tackle, which I get substituted for, and then I think again we were down for the week, and I think on the Tuesday night we were supposed to play Dundee reserves, which Alan Main had a tremendous game there. I was just sitting in the stand. Obviously, I couldn't walk actually, and then came back up the road and nothing came of that. So that was the only Scottish team. But there was a lot of Skype sniffing about.
Yeah.
When Pelly had the team, we won that treble. A lot of Skytes were interested in this, that, and the next thing, but no, nothing came of a move up the league, you could say.
Yep. Okay, here's a juicy question. I love this question. Tell us about 1992, 1993, Russell.
What happened there? Well, where do you start? I don't know. For myself, it was a really frustrating season because that's the season I had 3 knee operations.
Wow. Okay, that's huge. Is that that's a whole season almost out? Is it for you?
It wasn't because I came out. It was probably I remember the first one because we played Cali, and I think it was either qualifying cup, could have been the qualifying cup. We were up 1-0, and then I tackled Charlie Christie, but my knee sort of went in the wrong. My right knee went in the wrong way, and I got up and I thought, I felt a bit sore, you know. I never had any injuries before, and then after the game, we got beat 2-1. After the game, my knee started swelling up. So come training Tuesday night, still swollen up. So cut a long story short there, I went in to get a cartilage operation. It was just the keyhole surgery, torn cartilage, cleaned up. Then I had 6 weeks out, came back, threw it Peterhead, and sort of 5 minutes into the game, Dave Morland, Dave Morland.
Yep, I've had a few stories about Dave Morland.
Was the ball broke, and I can't remember if he was playing midfield, but the ball broke. We're both charging for the ball, and I think, this is going to be a good test for the knee, you know. Bang, in we went. We both hurt each other, but nobody sharked. Both got up, and I thought, my knee's okay, that's fine, that's good. So about half an hour later, another bouncing ball, and Steve Gerrard was there with Peterhead at the time. And I just got in and nicked it off of him, but as his foot come down, my knee my left knee this time, sort of went in the way, and all I heard was a twig snap, you know. Down I went, and I'm looking across the dugout, and I'm going, it's out, you know, something's wrong here. So a physio comes on, as we feel about. I says, there's something gone. I heard something go. I kind of feel angry. Just get a couple of minutes. Went back on, got up, tried to turn back, down again.
Yeah.
So substituted. And then on the Monday, I phoned the surgeon who'd just done my knee 6 weeks previous. He says, I'm just reading it in the present journal. I've got a bed tomorrow if you want it. So straight in. And then he said, your cruciate snapped. I says, okay, where do I go for here? He said, you'll be okay. Just keep your legs built up, your muscles built up. You'll be fine. Worst advice I ever took. 24 at the time, so.
Wow. Still young.
Yeah, so that was a bad time there. So then I was off for 3 months maybe, and I came back maybe February of that season, and then played the remainder of the season. Obviously, I wasn't saying I was taking it easy, but I was watching what I was doing, you know, watching what tackles I was going into and that sort of thing. And then at the end of the season, I went back in for another check on it, and I'd torn another bit of cartilage on it. So that was an end of season nightmare, you can say.
Yeah.
Apart from what we're about to talk to.
Yes. So, start us off how Elgin started the season off. Were your favourites going into the season?
I wouldn't say we were favourites, because there's a lot of strong teams there.
Just kind of looking back, I think Cove had their first good season and a couple of good seasons and pushed us quite away. But I also had a really strong Lossy team at the time, and was that Lossy team was managed by Frazee Kellis?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't say considered favourites, but there or thereabouts.
Certainly the team that John had put together, it was a strong team, strong free run team who I wouldn't say we just sat back and defended all the time. It was players who were always going to go forward, you know. Yeah. Forward thinking players who goals would be coming from anywhere. You'd an exciting footballing team, you could say, you know. I don't think we were favourites for the league.
Yep. Okay. So it actually finished Elgin 77 points, Cove 73, Lossy 69 points. I think it was 68 or 69. Elgin 110 goals scored, conceded 35. Cove 78 goals scored, conceded 37. So actually a team that conceded 34 in the league that season. Do you know who it was?
Conceded 34?
Yeah, less than Elgin or Cove. And they scored 41 and they conceded 34. Very low scoring team.
No.
That was Clark.
Is that right?
Yeah, Clark only let in 34 goals that season, only scored 41. So the AC Milan of the Highland League.
Jose Mourinho in charge that season or something?
Parking the bus. Elgin won the title that year.
Oh, we definitely won it, yeah. We did win it, yeah.
Having looked into the research, Elgin, obviously, for people listening and don't know the story, Elgin got stripped of that league title that season for fielding, for pulling back a game to a Friday night to get round 2 suspensions, and it was considered unsportsmanlike, and they were stripped of the title because of it. There was no fine, there was no points deduction, there was no anything like that. It was literally just stripped the title, all results null and void for that season. Give me your point of view of what happened before, leading up to winning it, and then the subsequent couple of days after, Russell.
Yeah, I think during the season, obviously John Teasdale was manager, and he was winding up everybody, you know, all the managers, etc., chairman.
Can you give us a story about him playing 8 players at Keith?
Yeah. I played that game myself, and then I came off in the second half. I think that was that game on the Saturday, then we were playing Cali on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, could have been. So John being John, trying to protect players. I think when I came off, it was maybe 3-1, and then a couple of guys get injured. We're still scoring goals. I think we won 5-1 that game. But John's taken, the last 10 minutes he's got guys getting injured. So off you come. The substitutes are have been used.
Mm-hmm.
So guys are still going down injured. Off you come. And you could see the chairman at the time of Keith in the stand, steam coming out his ears. And then at the end of the game, I always remember it because I was at the sidelines. Chairman came running out and had a kick at John,
Yeah.
Just one of the many things that you'd got against him as a black mark to when this finally kicked off, It
seemed to be a league-wide thing as well. A few people had things against John.
Yeah, aye. But
was there any reason for that? Was it just John's character?
It's just John being John.
Yeah.
He just used to love to wind up opposing managers and chairman and any opposing committee. Maybe some of his own committee as well, right enough. Yeah.
Okay, you win the title. How did you find out that you'd been? Because this is before Google. This is before Facebook.
Yeah.
How did you personally find out, Russell?
I think it was the P&J when I worked as a mechanic, and I think the P&J had phoned my work to speak to me personally, and I took the phone call, and it was the journalist's name was Mike Tremlett.
Okay.
Russell, Elgin Citys is getting stripped of the title. I've been stripped of the title match fixing or accused of match fixing. It's going to go to committee meetings and blah blah blah. But I thought, how's that? The game was brought forward. The Highland League obviously knew of any suspensions, so why did they allow it to go ahead?
Mm-hmm.
My understanding of it is that the SFA tell the Highland League of suspensions, the Highland League then tell the club. So it was all out in the open.
Yes.
Now, they say John misled them, but I think he outsmarted them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's happened. It happened in the past. It's happened since.
It happens to this day.
It does, So I don't know. As you could put it like with Bucky. Was it 2012 they won the league?
Yeah.
And then there was a row because they took a player back on loan.
Yes.
From loan. They broke the rule, but should they have been stripped? No, I don't think so personally. So, but they technically they broke a rule.
Yep. I've heard an opinion of somebody saying that if anything, just deduct the 3 points for that game. Elgin still win the title. You won the title by 4 points. If you want to do anything, just reverse the.
What would have happened if this scenario had been about 15 games in?
Yes.
Would have null and void the season?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And the other thing people have got to think about as well was, like, you're on about a committee. This is a committee that's made up of chairmen of other clubs.
Exactly.
So it's never going to be in Elgin's favour.
Yeah. Obviously, you were on about Alex Schweitzer Thompson put the documentary together.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to believe it's 31 years ago.
Yeah. Also in Elgin's centenary year, which was a huge year for Elgin. You were getting in big crowds at the time. I think the record crowd about that season was about 6,000 or something. Somebody was saying, or that might have been wrong.
I think 3,000 maybe.
3,000 was it?
So yeah.
Maybe I don't know where I'm getting 6,000 from, but a huge year for Elgin. And then to have it all taken away and still chatted about 31 years later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Alex, to his credit, approached me and a few others for interviews to see if we could do something with getting it back, And the documentary he put together was really, really well done.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of years after that, so it's maybe 3 years ago, a former chairman of a Highland League club approached me to say, what's the case here? What happened?
Yeah.
I tried to tell him the best I could, and he's a lawyer himself, and he said, I want to look into this. I want to see if I can get this back for you.
Mm-hmm.
So all I can say at the moment is it's in the hands of the lawyers.
Good. Yeah.
To see if everything was done as it should have been and by the book and within their constitution. But to say that he's getting doors closed or doors slammed shut in his face is an understatement. So
I don't doubt that.
But the more it happens, the more he's determined to get an answer.
Yeah. The best team deserve to win the league. And it's the same at any league. You go on leagues that are taken away for players and teams, best teams deserve to win the league. It's as simple as that. Your best team scored the most goals, conceded almost the fewest goals, flying that season. There was only 4 points in it, but Elgin were blowing teams away. I watched the documentary. You were saying that it wasn't just turning up and winning 1-0. You were 4, 5, 6-0 most weeks against teams, and it was only a couple of games or a couple of teams that was close with. The rest of the teams you were blown away by a mile. As you said, a brilliantly built team and probably the top 2 strongest teams Elgin's ever had, alongside the 1960s team. So for credit, and watch this space. Elgin's getting a title back. Okay, right. I asked you that one earlier on, so I'm going to go on to number 10. Who's your favourite current player, Russell?
I've got two midfielders. I like Billy Gilmour. I like the way he goes about the game, linking up well, etc. I think if he's at a bigger team, you could say, I think he'd be a real standout as well. Another one's John McGinn.
Yeah,
he just bullies games. He drags that Villa team through that 90 minutes,
kicking and screaming sometimes.
Yeah.
Because he seems to be 2 levels above them, and you see it when he plays for Scotland. He's just, it's a bit like when Robertson plays for Scotland. They're just that wee bit above, and the Scottish guys can't quite get on their level, and it must frustrate them a bit. But they're good guys. Yeah,
you can see him, the Scotland team as well. He's dragging that team through that 90 minutes and dying for every ball and whatever. So he's probably that's probably the 2 favourite players I've got at the moment.
They're brilliant. My English football team is Villa, so I watch John McGinn most weeks. I'm a massive fan of his. Something about the Scottish player in the Premier League just now, they seem to be built a wee bit differently.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're creeping more into the Premier League as well again.
Yeah.
Before you couldn't mention one, but now they're there.
We went through this weird period from us having the best players in the English Premier League, like Gordon Strachan and Gary McAllister and that, to the late to mid 2000s. We had nobody. We had Darren Fletcher, that was James McFadden, and now we're a wee bit of a renaissance of the Scottish game in England again. You look at the 1970s and 80s, we had the best players with the Scottish players in the teams. Your Kenny Dalglishes, your Graham Souness's and that. And
definitely, yeah.
I'm all for it returning. In your opinion, Russell, who is the greatest football player of all time? You don't have to give me a popular choice if you don't want to. No. Just your own opinion.
No, without a doubt, Maradona.
Brilliant.
Without a doubt. Mm-hmm. There's, the Messis and the Ronaldos, etc. They're playing in a different era. Different where you can still kick them. Don't get me wrong, but the physicality that Maradona put up with, and still come out the other end. It's incredible.
What age would you have been for the Hand of God?
Was that 86?
Yeah, 86.
Oh, it was what? 18?
Yeah.
18, yeah.
Celebrate that.
Oh, yeah, still am.
I think it sums up the beauty of Maradona, that you've got the craziness of that goal, and then you've also got the beauty of the other goal.
The second one, yeah.
And just 2 worlds apart in the same game. I watched the documentary on Napoli, Maradona at Napoli recently, and he's adored over there. He's an absolute god, and they think of him higher than Messi sort of Barcelona. Like it's just crazy. I think in Argentina alone, only Messi sort of higher than Maradona. But we've not actually spoke about this for a couple of episodes, Ryan. But do you think the Maverick's missing from football, modern day football? Maradona was a Maverick.
Oh yeah, definitely. But you're getting told to play a certain way, you know. From these bigger clubs are taking guys in at 8 years old. I wouldn't say brainwashing, but they're getting told to play a certain way.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, then
you're out the door.
You're not going to get a game, you know. Maradona was just a one-off, so Messi to a certain extent as well. But Messi would be out of the game for 88 minutes, but he would still score 3 goals in that 2 minutes.
That's it.
Know?
Yeah.
Whereas Maradona, from first minute to the last minute, he was
all over it.
All over the park, you know.
No, I can't disagree with that. Brilliant answer.
That's just hit the hour, by the way, mate.
Fantastic. I'm actually on to my last question for once. Second last question before we do year 11. What's your proudest achievement in football, Russell?
I would say getting the 4 trophies as captain.
Yeah.
At 21. It's not a lot, I wouldn't say there's a lot of people, but there's not a lot of local guys who would captain their own team and have a certain amount of success, but to get the treble and then have the 4th trophy a couple of months later, to get the full sideboard was something special.
It's something different when you're a local lad, isn't it? Like I grew up with, I keep calling him Soapy Cameron Jr., but that's what he'll be to you. He's not that to me, but I grew up with him, and I always think to him, I'm thinking that's absolutely mental. That's his local club, and he's stayed there his whole life, and that's just something to be proud of, you know. But like yourself, probably had offers to go elsewhere, stuck out, and just nothing quite like playing for your own club.
After my my first or second knee injury, whatever it was, Pelly had moved on to Huntly, and I seen him out and about one time, and he's asking me how's it going. I said, knees this, knees that, and he went, "Oh, it's a pity. I was going to put in a bid for 30,000 for you." I says, "What, to go to Huntly?" He says, "Yeah." I says, "Well, you're made. You as well making it 300,000. I still wouldn't have went."
And it's weird you say that, Russell. 30,000. Recently, that was a record Elgin transfer outgoing for Kane Hester to Montrose. That was only, and so it's 30 years apart, and the fees haven't changed. So that's how much you were worth. Well, 30 years inflation, and your price hasn't changed, mate.
You know, Pelly being Pelly. You don't know if he was on the wind up or not.
It could have been 3 million. Yeah. Thank you. Brilliant answers. 1 to 11. I'm going to read through it, and then let's pick it apart. I hope I've got Ian and Neef. Neef will be left and Ian MacArthur out right. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, so Alan Main in goals. Right to left, we've got Ian MacArthur, Chico McCarty, Willie Furphy. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Neef McLennan. Midfield 3. It's a 4-3-3, by the way. Mike Teasdale, Pelly Patterson, and Soapy Senior. And then we've got Frazee out right, John McGinley in the middle, and John Teasdale out left. Okay, name do you want to go for first there? The one that sticks out to me, I've had Alan Main on. I love you, Alan, but everyone knows all about you. What people don't maybe know so much about is Chico McCarty.
They don't know about Chico.
I know about Chico. Anyone that's a 80s, 90s Highland League fan will know about Chico, but for the people that don't, can you give us...
The new generation.
Yeah, can you give me 3 words to describe Chico McCarty as a player, Russell?
As a player?
Yeah. Hard?
Definitely hard. Uncompromising. And a player.
Yeah.
You know, very skillful, which a lot of people overlooked him as being, you know. But run through a brick wall for Elgin City. I remember playing a cup final at Keith against Cove. I think it was to get the fourth trophy altogether. And I was playing against Mike Cormack, who's quite a solid midfielder. And the goalkeeper had kicked out the ball, and all I heard was Chico's. And when he's shouting, I'm getting out of the way. And all I remember was Mike Cormack coming back the way, Chico going forward, and this sickening crack. And what happened is Chico's face had got Mike Cormack in the back of the head. Oof. So I just heard that, and I turned round, and I seen Chico just shake his head. Then obviously his teeth was loose, and he pulled out a tooth and then spat out another one. His mouth is teeming of blood, you know. Shook his head, got on with it, happy, and you know the referee had stopped the game. The physios had written him off, and he's going, no, I'm carrying on. So he went to the sideline, rinsed out his water, and back on.
Madness. Don't make them like that anymore.
But he would go through not just a brick wall, but he would go through MD.
Yeah.
Just the type he was. But a very skillful player as well, which was good to see him.
Having played against both, played with or against both, who would you say had a tougher tackle, Davy Moreland or Chico McCarty?
Chico.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Willie Furphy played professional?
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of centre back was he?
He came to Elgin not as a centre back, but as an out and out sweeper.
Yeah.
Used to love to get the ball from the goalie, who was, again, Craig Hinchliffe, he came up with Craig at the time. Used to get the ball out from him, and what a player, you know. He's the only guy I would see nutmeg centre forwards, just for the fun of it.
That's what you want.
And I was out injured at the time when Willie first came in, and when I started playing, I'm thinking, this guy's incredible. Really is. He's one of these guys that, as a sweeper, you could, and a centre forward was coming to close him down, he would just show him the eyes. He's away, you know.
Yeah.
Linking up with the midfielders, getting it back, and different class.
Yeah.
How he never stayed down being full time, I don't know.
I'm not going to go on. So for anyone listening, I'm not going to give you Ian MacArthur, because Ian MacArthur's coming to you in 2 episodes' time, so you'll hear plenty about Ian. Neil McLennan, halfway line goal.
Yeah.
Lives off it, as you say.
Oh, he does. He certainly does. Mr. Consistency, you know. I heard a comment by Paolo Maldini, obviously Italian left back, who says if he made a tackle, then he's made a mistake. You know, Neef was similar.
Wow. Because
you could read the game a step ahead of the winger or the midfielder that was coming through. You know, he sort of knew where the ball was going to go, so he's in there already, nicking off the toes of whoever. You know.
Yeah.
Consistent. Hardly missed a training session. Hardly missed a game.
Would you consider him a modern day fullback? Like getting up and down and things?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Because I think Craig has got the same right and left back, and he says we're both very modern when we get up and down.
Yeah. He had 2 traits, Neefy. He used to go flying up the wing. I say flying. He's getting up the wing just as the covering defender or midfielder would tackle him, but Neefy would always get a toe in and then go flying to get the free kick. You know,
okay.
Never get hurt, never get injured, but he would get the foul, draw the foul. And the other one, when he was defending, the ball sort of rolling out by the byline, he would give it the old step over. Not once, not twice, but maybe 3 times. And the wingers coming in or the forwards coming in are going, what's going on here? You know, and it used to be, I used to call it a Neefy shuffle, you know.
Aye, it just throws them off.
Oh, yeah, you're not expecting it. Well, you might expect it once, but not twice or 3 times.
I love a bit of wee flair like that. Okay, let's get on to your midfield. Mike Teasdale played for Dundee and Cali. I'm right in thinking he's John's brother.
That's right, John's younger brother, yeah.
Different kind of player to John. I see Mike at the fit bar at the time. He's always doing it at the Elgin games and things like that. I think he still stays as local.
Yeah, he's local, yeah.
just how good a player he was, because I've heard from a few people that know him personally, and it's just fantastic. Just
strong.
Yeah.
You know?
Was that a centre midfield partner for you?
No, John Michael played more on the right hand side.
Yeah.
Not as a winger, but right midfield. Again, 90 minutes, just wind him up and just he'll go all day. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Very strong. Used to link up quite well. Certainly 1-2's not going through, cutting through the defences. Just let him get on the end of it and away he goes.
He went up the leagues with Carly as well, I'm right in thinking.
That's
didn't
right,
he?
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Possibly played against Celtic in that famous game.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Can I just ask you quickly, Russell, why you not put yourself in your 11?
I think the guy that's in there's head and shoulders above me as it is. You know?
Pelly.
Well, yeah. I
Frazy mentioned him at the boys' league. He says that he was a foot taller than everyone else, bit quicker than everyone else, and just better.
Yeah, just better at everything, you know. Class from the sort of first time I see him play, you know, when it was when he came back to play for Forest. They won the league in '86, was it? And I remember seeing him up the town, big, tall, dark, and he had this curly handlebar moustache, you know, like that. And I was thinking, who's that? Who's this in Elgin, you know? But he just, there's an aura about him, you know. Fantastic touch. He could read the game. He never had certain pace, but he didn't need pace when you've got a touch and etc. like him, you know.
Yeah.
But going back to his sort of management style when he was manager of Elgin, probably all these teams, what he used to do with us, he put 11 players up on the board. No tactics. There's your 11 guys, out you go. And just because he's picked 11 good players who knew how to play football, he was never worried about tactics. That 11 guys knew how to play football. That's mad, that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can't remember him actually having a tactical session. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, he never spoke formations or anything like that. He's just, here's your 1-11.
Well, you would give us the sort of 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3 or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But no, right, I want you to pass out here, do this. None of that. You know?
As a centre midfielder, Russell, what did you prefer, a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2?
A 4-3-3 I preferred.
Mm-hmm. Did you like the guys playing wide or playing in with you?
Depending where the certain play was, you know. Obviously, the if it's over in the right wing, then your defenders, your left back will move over. Yeah. Your left midfield will move over as well, just to close things down. But as long as you're working in a unit, everybody works the same, you know.
Yeah. No,
you're singing for the same hymn sheet that way. So.
Soapy Senior.
Again, another strong.
I feel so bad, but I don't actually know too much about Soapy Senior. I know plenty about Soapy Junior. I've watched him for the last 15 years, but the same kind of player?
Very similar player, yeah. Very similar. I would say Soapy Senior, stronger, I would say. More direct. Not as skillful, I would say, but certainly he's a player you would have in your team rather than playing against you. Yeah. Which is the highest accolade I can give MD, you know. You would want to play with them rather than against them. Yeah.
Guys you feel confident with as well, you know. You go into a game, you think, I've got him here, we're all right here, makes all the difference.
Again, go back to 92, 93, that finished his career.
Yeah.
When he had his knee injuries, you know. So, big shame, that one.
A lot came out of that 92-93 season in the end. It's not just what happened, it was the fallout of a lot of people's careers. It's the start of some other people's careers as well, you know, that a couple of young guys in that squad as well.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, one of my close acquaintances these days, because I see him more often than I see my own family, is Frazy Kellis. In your own words, Russell, what kind of player was he? Because Frazy wouldn't tell us much. He wouldn't speak much about himself. He wasn't much for bigging himself up or that. He's just very modest.
Well, I first went down to Elgin Citys when I said 13, 14 years old, and you go in there on the training nights, and Frazee it wasn't allowed, but he was the one with the banter, you know. Out on the training pitch, him and Chico, if they were on opposite sides, just used to get tore into each other, you know. And I'm thinking, this is just a training match. Look at them, you know, and a couple of bulls that are locked horns, you know.
Yeah.
But he could look after himself. Certainly could look. He never held back in a tackle.
I've heard that.
I think his motto was, if he's coming in high, I'm going in higher, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, I think one of the earliest memories I've got of an Elgin City game is when I got in. I must have been through my mother's pockets because I managed to pay myself in instead of getting up the tree to watch. And I just sat down with my pie and my tomato soup on the railings outside the pie shop at the Lossy Green side. Mm-hmm. And the referee had blown the whistle. I think it was Bucky Thistle, actually. And whoever it was had played the ball back to their left back. And all I can remember is Frazee going for the guy. And just as the guy cleared it, Frazee's right into him, bang. And the ball, and I think the guy as well, ended up with me over the railings. My pie and my soup almost got knocked out. And I says to Frazee a few years after that, when I started going down, I says, remember that game? He says, no, there's just as many of them. And obviously, 3 seconds gone, booking, you know.
Yeah. Quality. On the other side of Frazee, you've got John Teasdale. You spoke about him. He was player manager at that 92, 93. Right, yeah. How often did he actually play? Did he pick himself every game? Or?
Well, not every game, but he played a fair amount, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was with Pelly's side as well. Mm-hmm. So when he came back as manager,
was there a little bit of that going on at Elgin? Almost like the Liverpool boot room thing. It was like, right, he's gone. There's got to be someone in here that can take that job. They know the way the club's run. And
I wouldn't think that was the case at Elgin. No. In my time, I've had 8 managers.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot. 8
managers in 13 seasons, you know. When Pelly left and then Mike Winton took over, then we had, I've got it written down there somewhere. I'll give you them all, by the way.
Yeah.
Ian Cummins, Malcolm Cowie, Steve Patterson, Mikey Winton, Brian Black, John Teasdale, Ian Fleming, and Chico McCarty.
That's a fair list, that way. Yeah.
I think after Mikey Winton, they got Brian Black, who never even lasted 3 months. Mm-hmm. That was the only manager I've ever sort of really fell out with. Then after Brian Black came in John Teasdale. To answer your question, he was in the squad, so to speak. So if he was required to come on, a bit of experience to steady a ship, sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Or to get him away from the sidelines to avoid the abuse from chairmans and managers, you know.
It's but he played at a high level himself as well.
He did, yeah. He was down at Wolves, then he went abroad, and he'd come back to Elgin with a fair bit of experience with him.
Yeah. Fantastic. And then obviously we spoke about John McGinley up front. One of the names, just kind of last couple of bits I've got mentioned to me was Sammy Leonce, or is that how I pronounce that right?
Sammy Leonce, yeah.
Leonce. Done a wee bit of Googling. All I could find was RAF records of him scoring goals wherever he was. So I take it he was a serviceman with the RAF.
That's right, yeah.
Big part of that 92-93 team, I've heard. Centre forward?
Centre forward, yeah. Big Sammy, yeah. Obviously, with Graham Tatter's been involved as well. He could pick up sort of first hand if any guys are coming into the bases, then he was right on it, you know.
Yeah.
Big Sammy come on. I remember his first game was a pre-season game against Rangers, where he, in a 50-50 with the goalkeeper, Sammy was fast, you know. You could just put the ball in behind the defenders and he's after it. And the goalkeeper underestimated how fast Sammy was. So they're coming out together. Sammy had just nipped the ball in, clatter, keeper off.
Aye.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think the next game was against Keith in the opening of the Highland League. And Ian Thane, goalkeeper, underestimated Sammy. Bang, clattered. He had to go off as well. So 2 games, 2 goalkeepers carried off. It was pretty big, Sammy. Oh, he never held back, you know.
Yeah.
He had touched like a brick wall, though.
Yes.
You know, unless it was on his head.
How tall was he? He was about 6'2".
Oh, if no more, yeah.
Aye. And played for Forest as well. I remember.
Right,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hell of a nice guy, though. Jeez, nice guy.
Yeah. No, it's what football's all about. It's characters you meet and it's the people you remember, isn't it? It's okay. Thanks for listening. I do appreciate people listening, following me. You can follow me on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Apple, TikTok.
If it doesn't get banned soon.
Yeah, last episode was something else. Let's just say that.
No, I mean the TikTok app potentially getting banned in the
I
West.
did hear about
that
that. Did hear about that as well. Thank you for the last hour and a bit, Russell. Really appreciate it, mate.
Pleasure.
One of the things I was quickly going to ask you before you go was, did you get a testimonial for Elgin?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
2003, yeah.
Who did you play against?
Livingston.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
knew Jim Leishman quite well by the time he was up managing Inverness Thistle.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So I don't know him personally, but I was in his company a few times.
Mm-hmm.
So when Livingston got into Europe that year, 2003, I think it was. So I'd got a hold of Jim to take up his team there, and John Robertson was the.
Was Alan Main playing at that time?
No, not
for
at
them?
that time. No. John Robertson, obviously ex-Hearts, was the coach in charge of them at that time. He came up with him.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Good, mate. That's a privilege to kind of speak to yourself. My as you can see by the shirt I'm wearing, my hometown club. Not my first club. Celtic's always my first club, but certainly my second club. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to finish off on the last question. I think I might know the answer, but if my answer is wrong, then I would be surprised. If there was a penalty and it had to be scored to save your life, who takes the penalty, Russell?
Has to be me.
Yep,
Has to be
I
me.
thought so.
Has to be me.
So I think we spoke before. I think you'd said 34 or something you scored.
It's either 33 or 34, yeah.
And you've only missed 2 or 3, I think so.
4 at the most, yeah.
It's a quality record, really good record. I think Matt Letizé's probably topping that, but Matt Letizé's a world famous footballer. He's not world famous for anything else, but we're not going to get into that on this podcast. Next episode, we've got Stephen Laird, Elgin Citys' current assistant manager, coming on. And then we've got Ian MacArthur, one of your ex-teammates, Russell. Mm-hmm. Thank you, as I says, thank you to yourself, Russell. Thank you to you, Ryan, for producing my podcast.
Appreciate it, mate.
Thank you to everyone listening. What I'm going to do over the next couple of weeks is I'm actually going to put up a poll, a bit like Ryan did with the North East Corner, and put up a list of about 20 or 30 names and see who people want to get on. Because that
Good idea, mate.
Yeah, that was quite successful when you done it as well. But what I try to do, Russell, is I'm trying to get as many different avenues from football as I can. Players, managers. I've just had a scout. I've had a referee on. I want a director. I want somebody who owns a football club. I want a season ticket holder. I just want every different avenue I can get. So we'll speak to you all in episode 15. Yeah.
Do you want the random fact for today before
you're going to finish off us off in a
Don't
random
worry,
fact?
it's a social one today. It's not as wild as the ones that have been coming out with the latest episodes.
I don't know if Russell's quite prepared for Trent Alexander-Arnold's granny. Did you know about that, Russell? Trent Alexander-Arnold's granny was Sir Alex Ferguson's first girlfriend.
Oh, wow. I thought you'd say Wayne Rooney's.
Love it. Okay, you go for it, bro.
Yeah, so today's one is Chelsea are the only team in history to hold the Europa League and the Champions League at the same time.